Hey guys, welcome to another video for anatomy and physiology. In this video, we're taking a second look at the epithelial tissue, epithelial cells. So again, these are the cells that are that basically comprise the human body, and we're looking at three different types. These are the multi-layered cells, or if you go back to part one, we were looking at the more simplified single-layered tissue. So we're looking at stratified squamous, stratified cuboidal, and the transitional epithelium in this video. So going back to the basics, we're looking at the at what a cell is. So a cell, if you can remember back from biology, you have a cell membrane that covers up the cell. That's in the yellow here, and inside the cell membrane you have cytoplasm with all the different types of organelles. Remember, it's like a little minor city inside. And then the blue is the nucleus, where the DNA is housed. So we're looking at the different sides of the cell. We have the apical surface, which is the outside, and then you have the side that's attached to the body, the basal surface. And usually in the basal surface we have something called the basement membrane, and that's the part that kind of glues the cell in place to the body. And then below that you have you can have fat tissue, blood vessels, and what have you, and muscle. So there's three basic types of shapes. If you remember from the first video, we have the simple, which is a single layered. We have pseudo-stratified, and then we have stratified. Stratified compared to pseudo-stratified. Pseudo, remember that word pseudo means fake, so it appears like it's stratified. It appears that there's multiple layers because of the nuclei being at different levels, and it gives the appearance of being stratified. Now the stratified, we actually do have multiple layers of tissue. So the first one we're looking at is stratified squamous. Okay, so squamous, kind of squarish, flattened out cells. These are multiple layers of flattened out cells. Now we have two different types of squamous cells. We have keratinized and non-keratinized cells. Okay, for the keratinized, that's the outer layer of the skin. If you look at, I don't know how much work you guys do, but if you look at your hands, if you worked outside a lot in the summer, you can develop calluses in your hands, or your feet. Your feet are typically one of the primary areas where your body will produce calluses in your heels, on the bottoms of your toes, and it's that really thick layer of skin that feels like leather. It's just a protective layer, or areas where the skin is constantly rubbing on another surface, and that skin becomes tough. And that keratinized tissue is essentially dead tissue. And then just below that dead tissue, you have new live tissue that's being protected. And it peels off fairly easily as well. Now the non-keratinized tissue, actually let me go back. The non-keratinized tissue is tissue that you would find in areas where there's a lot of moisture and there's a potential for abrasions. Like for example, the esophagus, the anal canal. So again, these are multi-layered areas of cells where there is a potential for abrasion, and that's the non-keratinized. So that means that on the outermost layer there isn't any dead tissue. It is live tissue, as opposed to the bottoms of your feet, which are keratinized. Alright, so the next one is stratified cuboidal. So again, these are the ones that have the cube-like shape, but now we have multiple layers of these cube-like shapes, and you can kind of see the two layers that we're talking about here as it kind of snakes through in this macroscopic slide here. And you can see the purple nuclei. There's two different levels of these particular cells. Okay. Now the areas where you would find these cells are typically found in mammary glands, sweat glands, salivary glands, and pancreas. Now one of the characteristics for stratified cuboidal, when you think about the shape and you differentiate the shape of cuboidal versus, let's say, squamous is a more flattened out pancake-like, whereas cuboidal is, like I said, it's got more surface area and it's got more volume to it. So these are typically cells that are going to be excreting some kind of fluid, be it mucus or sweat, a saliva, or some digestive enzyme for your body. So these are areas that have more volume, which will produce more of whatever the substance is needed, as opposed to simple squamous, or simple squamous. Simple squamous is very thin, where things can diffuse like oxygen, carbon dioxide, or blood. So again, the mammary glands, salivary glands, pancreas, and sweat glands. Now, the last one that we're going to be looking at is the transitional cells. These transitional cells are unique in that, although they're multi-layered, they have the ability to actually stretch out. Okay, so they can withhold a lot of strain. And you know, if you can imagine a balloon, for example, when you inflate the balloon, if you inflate it high, you know, with enough air, that balloon, that skin of the balloon will stretch out, and you can almost kind of see through it in a sense. Likewise, if you think of the part of the body that is you know, that's going to stretch, it's, you know, think of your bladder. Your bladder, as it fills up with urine, will stretch. And in fact, you have stress receptors. These are this nervous tissue that once they feel that pressure, that liquid that's pressing against the walls of the bladder, it sends a signal to the brain, and that's how you know that you need to use the restroom there. And so these transitional cells, like I said, they have the ability to stretch out. Okay, they distend, and then they can return to their normal size once all the urine has been excreted. So these cells are found in the lining of the urinary bladder and also your kidney, and it prevents urine from diffusing backwards as well. Okay, well, that does it for part 2 of our epithelial tissue: stratified squamous, stratified cuboidal, and transitional. Thanks for watching, and good luck in your study.